Well, my dad, it's funny how, I was his little girl, so he was always a very kind, soft, gentle man to me. And then after he had died, he had been a Marine, so he was a tough guy. And then it's funny when you hear the stories of his friends and the people he worked with, how, he'd get mad and curse at people. I was 13 when he died. I never heard him curse. So it's funny how he was a different person at the fire department and, amongst the Marines that he served with. And if there was something that had to be done, my father was never the person to say, hey, someone should do that. He would always say, all right, let's get it done. So he implemented lots of new programs at the fire department and was just always the person who got things done. So I know he was always a really tough guy, but to me he wasn't. And one of my funny little stories on how soft he was, one morning I was sitting in the kitchen and our house was maybe about 4 steps off the ground. And he was standing in the backyard. He had just taken the garbage either out or in. He was in the yard. And I was sitting at the kitchen table. And he was making faces at me. And I remember blowing him a kiss. And because I was a little higher than him, he jumped up to catch it and put it on his cheek. So he was always really soft and gentle to me. But again, I'm sure he was a really tough guy, but not to his little girl. As a kid, he'd bring me to the firehouse, and they still had the poles. And that was one of my most fun things. He'd run upstairs and slide down the pole for me. So I like to visit the firehouse with them. Well, again, so much of what he did, if there was something that had to be done, he was the one who did it. And I know I'm that way. If something has to get done, I don't say someone should do this. I always say, hey, all right, how are we going to get this done? So I think a lot of that definitely translated to me. And again, just seeing the softer side of people. I've been at the firehouse even after he had died, visiting one day, and a bunch of the guys were just sitting around the table talking like firemen talk. And all of a sudden, one of them realized I was there. And I was probably about 17. And they stopped for a minute. And someone else said, oh, no, it's okay. It's all right. She can take it. She's been around a long time. And even to see someone, like I said, I know he was tough. I've gotten in touch with Marines, actually, who served with him since he died, who've given me stories about him. And it's kind of funny because it's, in some ways, the character of who he was, the stories support. But some of the manners, like, really, my father never did that around me.